Happy Wednesday, everyone. This Locked On Wildcats is obviously brought to you by LinkedIn. Thank you for making us your first listen of the day. We're going to talk a bunch of Arizona football, some overlooked players, where Jedd Fisch is getting them, and a little bit of a look ahead to Mississippi State. Let's get started here on Locked On Wildcats.
You are Locked On Wildcats, your daily podcast on the Arizona Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for keeping it Locked On Wildcats. Again, I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, we got a lot to get to today. First, we're going to talk a little bit more. We're going to rehash that San Diego State curb stomping at the on the verge of by the Arizona Wildcats. Then we're going to talk some other stuff, some overlooked players and whatnot. But first, let's just talk about what we saw yesterday, and that was on Saturday. And again, that was a curb stomping right there. And the first person that you got to bring up, that you got to give huge kudos to, Jayden de Laura and Jalen Harris. Jayden de Laura comes in last year, Pac-12 Freshman of the Year at Washington State, comes in here in his first game on national television against a team in San Diego State that most people expected to beat Arizona, came out and played a fantastic game. Again, 299 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 pick. But more so than anything, you can just tell that football just comes naturally to Jayden de Laura, and that's a very, very good thing. That's a very impressive thing right now for the Arizona Wildcats. Now, when I look at what he was able to do and what he's going to be able to do going forward, it's a little bit of everything because, quite frankly, his arm is big enough to make all the plays that you need. He can scramble around. He's a very good decision maker, and again, just big tip of the cap right there to Jayden de Laura for what he was able to do and that connection right there with Jacob Cowing. Now, Cowing's one of the best wide receivers in the country. I don't think that that's any surprise right there. Anybody that watched Arizona knew this year that was going to be the case, that he is kind of that next level type dude right there. But I don't think that anybody saw 8 catches for over $150, 3 TDs. And honestly, just how easy he made everything look. I mean, it looked easy out there for Jacob Cowing. But a big part of that, too, obviously, was Jayden de Laura and what he was able to do. And I was a little surprised. I thought Jacob Cowing was going to get that award for Pac-12 Player of the Week. They gave it to Jayden de Laura. But you know what? I can't sit here and really complain because they both deserved it. Big kudos. And it wouldn't surprise me at all if this isn't the last time that we see these two in that situation as well. Again, you could just tell that they are already on a pretty good chemistry note. And what's also going to be fascinating to watch is that you don't really have guys who are going to be able to double team. I mean, you think about it this way. Who are you going to double team on the University of Arizona right now? Are you going to double team Jacob Cowing? Because if you double team Jacob Cowing, then there's, by the way, you got a T-Mac that's going to be able to make plays right there. You've got a guy who in Dorion Singer that we've talked about. So big time ups right there. Now, let's talk a little bit about Jalen Harris as well. Jalen Harris is the guy who, let's be honest here, Jalen Harris, I think a lot of people wanted to be able to, see more from Jalen Harris, to be quite honest with you. Because, again, really, really talented kid, was able to make a lot of plays. But I think a lot of people are still looking at Jalen Harris and saying to themselves that, he should be in the NFL. He's that type of talent. And you know what? He is that type of talent. So I'm watching them right now, and I'm thinking, okay, now it's basically a wait and see approach when it comes to Harris. And, well, you know what? he just earned the Pac-12 defensive player of the week, and he deserved it. I think a lot of people were thinking maybe it was Jerry Roberts that was going to get that. We'll get to Jerry Roberts in a minute, but Jay, I have absolutely no problem with him being able to get that, to be honest with you. I mean, Jalen Harris was absolutely everywhere for Arizona. They needed him to be everywhere, and he was able to make the plays that you absolutely needed out of them. And I look at this squad right now, and a big part of what they're being able to do is a lot of these guys are able to make – a lot of these guys are just really good coaching, really good evaluation by the coaching staff. And Jalen Harris is a guy that came in obviously under Rich Rod, but now his 5th to 6th year here, he broke through. And I think you're going to see a lot more of that going forward. I think you're going to see a lot more of that. When I watch him, though, I think what's fascinating is there is so much more that he can really do. Because you watch Jalen Harris, he is long, he is athletic, he is big. And, oh yeah, by the way, he's explosive as well. Again, he had a sack, tackle for loss. I would look for him to be able to continue that right now. I'd look for him to be able to push that through for the rest of the season. We talked about before the season that you want Hunter Echols, you want Jalen Harris to be able to combine for 10 sacks. I might push that up to 15. Honestly, now again, beggars can't be choosers. I get all that. But I think you saw the Jalen Harris that so many people wanted to see. And again, big kudos to him because he deserves it. He comes from a great family, like we've talked about a bunch. And he's going to I think he's going to get some more awards like that. So again, big kudos to him. Now, you look at some of the other players that obviously stood out. We're going to talk about Jerry Roberts right now. Jerry Roberts is another player that Fisch brought in, that came in as a transfer and really has looked the part, has been a guy that I think everybody really wanted him to be. Everybody wanted Jerry Roberts to basically take over that middle linebacker spot. And taking over that middle linebacker spot means a lot of different things. But at first and foremost, it means that you've got to be a tackling machine. And what everybody's looking at, too, is that you want him to be that tackling machine, and he was able to do it. He was able to fill the gaps. He was able to fill the holes, and big time stuff right there out of Jerry Roberts. If you're an Arizona fan, I think you're absolutely ecstatic by what you've seen. Now it's just about staying healthy because this isn't the deepest team in the world. I think that we all know that, but this is a team though that still has a lot of really good talent on there. And the next step for Jedd Fisch will be getting into that 3 deep. We'll be getting into that 3 deep, 2 deep, and making that next move. But right now, so far so good for Jedd Fisch and coaching staff. Again, big time kudos for them. You look at the safety, right? You look at the safety position between a Christian Young and a Jackson Turner, and both those guys were very impressive. There's a lot of questions, I think, about them. Are they football players or are they just really good athletes? Well, you know what? They answered a lot of those questions. And again, it's the first game of the season. Totally get all that. But they answered a lot of those questions there on Saturday, because not only did they play well, they continued to ball out there, and they're going to have to continue to do it. There's no doubt about it, because it's not going to get any easier. You got Mississippi State coming up. After Mississippi State, then you got North Dakota State, obviously, and then you go right into the Pac-12 season. So you got to be able to continue to build on what you've seen right there. But again, this was an awesome first step for the University of Arizona. And I think it's something that we're all just going to continue to hope to see. Hopefully Arizona can continue to build on that, because if you can build on that, then you got a lot of different things that are quite good for you right there. All right, we're going to take a quick break, but first, let's talk a little bit about LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the best place to be for any anybody you want to hire, anybody looking for a job, you need to be on LinkedIn, linkedin.com, and check it, Locked On College, /Locked On College. Everybody has been on LinkedIn. Everybody knows somebody that's on LinkedIn. Everybody knows somebody that was hired from being on LinkedIn. There's no real secret to the recipe. You just know that, you know what, LinkedIn has been around forever. It's been around for a reason. And the reason that it's been around so long is because it works. It attracts high-quality candidates. And on top of that, if you're an employer, you know that it works. So again, for everybody out there, check out linkedin.com. We'll be right back with you. We're going to talk now about some of the overlooked players that Jedd Fisch has brought in that have been able to make this team what we saw there on Saturday. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats. I am your host, Mike Luke. Okay. Now, here we go. Well, there's a lot. Everybody's talking about the Jayden Deloras of the world, and rightfully so. Everybody's talking about the T-Max guy, Jacob Cowing. But building a program is about finding guys finding different players, finding guys that can really make that impact. It can make that impact quickly. And Jedd Fisch has done a fantastic job of that. And first, let's look at and let's talk about DJ Williams. Now, I got to admit, when DJ Williams came in, I was a little circumspect. I thought, all right, he was at Auburn. He had a little bit of success. Then he went to Florida State, and he really didn't do much. What's Arizona really getting with him? Well, if that first game is any indication, you're going to get a guy that's going to be an absolute problem for the rest of the league to be able to contain, because not only is he big and he's fast, he's able to get downhill, and he's able to bully, and he's able to punish people out there. That's what was impressive about watching Jerry Roberts. That's what was impressive about watching DJ Williams, is what he was able to do, and just the way that he was able to put the game away. We've talked about it all season, about how you want that bell cow, how you want that guy who can really just go in there, take a game down, take a game over, and at the end, you look at it and you say, man, he just whooped us up and down the field. That's what you got in DJ Williams. I think between him and Jonah Coleman, those are your two backs right there. Now, again, Michael Wiley played well. Michael Wiley played good football. Those are going to be your three right there. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that at all, to be quite frank with you. So now you say to yourself, is the running back situation is good enough? Who was maybe overlooked at that receiver position? And then you go and you're looking at a Dorion Singer. Dorion Singer is the epitome of what you're looking at from Jedd Fisch's perspective, the epitome of what you watch and you say, all right, where are you going to get these guys? Because you're not going to be able to get all T-Max. You're not going to be able to get all Speedy Lukes. You're not going to be able to get all of those guys. So you got to be able to get some under the radar type players. Dorion Singer is that dude. Dorion Singer comes here out of Pinnacle, kind of a weird recruiting odyssey, ends up, gets kind of a weird scholarship offer from Texas, but I don't think that it's really committable, and, doesn't end up there, obviously, ends up at Arizona. And as we've talked about many times, by the end of the year, he was the best player on the team, or one of the best wide receivers on the team. You could easily make that case. If he wasn't, he was right there. But those are the type of guys that if you're Arizona, you got to be able to get. Because, again, if you're going to recruit at a high level, cool, but you're going to have to be able to fill your roster out with other players like that. Dorion Singer is that dude. Dorion Singer is going to be that guy going forward. He is going to be one of those starting three receivers for as long as he's at the University of Arizona. Good catch right there by Jedd Fisch. Okay, now let's see. Next guy, Jerry Roberts. Jerry Roberts is a difference maker. Again, I thought, and we said it here many times, that he was going to be a guy who was going to need to lead the team in tackles, and if everything went right, he could be kind of that outside the box conference, all conference type guy. He was that. So, and you're hoping that he will be that. He certainly showed that so far. What do you need for it? Now you just need him to be able to stay consistent. If you can have him stay consistent, then it becomes a different animal entirely, because If he's on the field, you can tell that instinctually he knows what he's doing out there. He knows that where he's got to be, where he needs to be at all times. And again, he was really what you're looking for if you're Arizona. You're looking for that player that can be that linchpin right there. And I think he's shown so far that he can do it. Now it's just about being able to build on it. And that's the key with this team to so many different levels, is just being able to build on that success. You build on that success, everything's going to be good. Okay. Now, one other guy too, keep an eye that you're bringing in a little bit under the radar, Hunter Echols. Started off the game dynamite in the backfield, causing tackles for loss. I thought he had a sack. I guess he didn't have a sack, but it looked like he did have a sack out there. But he was big time. He was what you were hoping a USC transfer coming in here would look like. And he's been that dude. Now, obviously, you need him to stay healthy because he and Jalen Harris, I think, can provide a real punch right there. But if those guys are all healthy, you're looking at something different right there. You're looking at a pass rush. You're looking at a D line that's unique, that's different. And Arizona hasn't had that in quite a while. All right, we're going to take a quick break. And then when we come back, we're going to talk a few more players, and then we're going to get ready for Mississippi State. You are listening to Locked On Wildcats. Thanks for keeping it Locked On Wildcats. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, now, here we go. Two more players that we got to talk about, little under the radar type guys. That's kind of where we're going with. That's the angle of today's show. And then that's Jonah Savannah. That's just good recruiting / scouting by Jedd Fisch and his coaching staff. He knew that, and again, we've talked about it, but in Hawaii, it was a little bit different because of COVID, all of that going on. So some players didn't get to play as much. Some weren't as exposed as much. Jonah Savannah is that dude. Obviously, got knocked out of the game, but he should be good to go. Savannah is a player that looks like he'll play in the NFL at some point. He's that good. He's got that type of ability to him. Now, what's the next step for him? Just being able to stay healthy, stay on the field, be that road grader. Because if he can be that road grader, then you're looking at a guy who could possibly be the best player in this recruiting class. And that's not something where, that's hyperbole. He's got that type of potential, and it just is about being able to put that one out there. But Big Jonah was a great get by this coaching staff, a big-time get. Now, Trayden Stukes, another one. Obviously he's been dealing with a lot of injuries, but going forward at that cornerback position, Arizona needs him to be healthy. Arizona needs him to be able to stay healthy, because if he can stay healthy, then he's going to be playing a ton out there. And quite frankly, he should be playing a ton out there. He's that dude. He's that good. Again, you do wonder a little bit about his talent, but over his overall talent, but he certainly showed an eye or a nose for the football last season. And getting him opposite Christian Roland Wallace, I think, will be a big get for Arizona. You just got to be able to get him to stay healthy. But that's another nice little move right there by the coaching staff, getting those guys in here, getting players in that are able to fit kind of that, a good OKG mold. How about that? We always mock the OKG because basically it was not mocking the player, but we mocked that a little bit just because basically it felt like a Rich Rod way of not recruiting anything. But now the OKG isn't a bad thing because you have other good players in there. And Trayden Stukes certainly has the ability, I think, to be more than an OKG. Excited to see what he can do. But those are 6 guys right there that the coachings that are going to be kind of the heart of that team. And we're not highly sought after. That's what's impressive about what Fisch has been able to do there. So we're going to talk about that a lot more coming up in the week, because this team was built on the back of a lot of different players, just not the T-Max and the Jayden Deloras of the world. But again, Arizona football, a lot of good stuff going on, a lot of stuff to get to going forward. But again, got Mississippi State coming in. We will preview that. We will get you guys everything you need to know about all of that. But as always, thank you so much for listening to Locked On Wildcats. This doesn't happen without you. You have been listening, again, to Locked On Wildcats. You all have a great rest of your Wednesday, and we'll be